Hello and welcome to part 15 of The Wizard of Oz. We're actually on chapter 14, which is the winged monkeys. Let's have a look and see what's going on. You remember there was no avenue, no longer even a pathway between the fortress of the Wicked Witch and the Emerald City. When the 4 vacationers went searching for the witch, she had visible them coming and so sent the winged monkeys to bring them to her. It became a great deal more difficult to find their way lower back through the big fields of buttercups and yellow daisies than it was being carried. They knew of path. They must go instantly east toward the rising sun, and they began off within the right manner. But at midday, while the solar had come over their heads, they did now not realise which was east and which had become west. And that was the purpose. They were misplaced inside the superb fields. They kept on foot, however, and at night the moon got here out and shone brightly. So they lay down a few of the candy-smelling yellow vegetation and slept soundly till morning, all, however, the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman. The subsequent morning the sun became at the back of the cloud. However, they commenced on, as though they have been quite certain which manner they have been going. "If we walk far enough," said Dorothy, "I am positive we shall some day come to a few region." But days passed away, and that they still noticed not anything before them, however, the scarlet fields. The Scarecrow commenced to grumble a bit. "We have genuinely lost our way," he said, "and until we discover it once more in time to attain the Emerald City, I shall in no way get my brains."
"Nor I my coronary heart," declared the Tin Woodman. "It seems to me I can scarcely wait till I get to Oz, and you have to admit this is a very long adventure." "You see," said the Cowardly Lion with a whimper, "I haven't the courage to keep tramping all the time without getting everywhere in any respect." Then Dorothy lost coronary heart. She sat down on the grass and looked at her partners, and they sat down and looked at her. And Toto determined that for the primary time in his existence he became too worn out to chase a butterfly that flew beyond his head. So he placed out his tongue and panted and looked at Dorothy as though to ask what they must do subsequent. "Suppose we name the sector mice," she counselled. "They may want to, in all likelihood, inform us the way to the Emerald City." "To make certain they may," cried the Scarecrow. "Why did we not consider that earlier then?" Dorothy blew the little whistle she had continually carried approximately her neck because the Queen of the Mice had given it to her. In a couple of minutes they heard the pattering of tiny toes, and a number of the small grey mice came strolling up to her. Among them became the Queen herself, who requested in her squeaky little voice, "What can I do for my buddies?" "We have lost our manner," said Dorothy. "Can you tell us where the Emerald City is?" "Certainly," responded the Queen, "but it's far a notable way off, for you have had it at your backs all this time." Then she observed Dorothy's golden cap and stated, "Why don't you use the charm of the cap and contact the winged monkeys to you? They will convey you to the City of Oz in much less than an hour." "I did not realise there was a lure," responded Dorothy in wonder. "What is it?" "It is written in the golden cap," answered the Queen of the Mice. "But if you were going to name the winged monkeys, we should run away, for they're full of mischief and think it great fun to plague us." "Won't they hurt me?" requested the woman anxiously. "Oh no, they have to obey the wearer of the cap. Goodbye!" And she scampered out of sight with all the mice hurrying after her. Dorothy regarded in the golden cap and noticed some phrases written upon the lining. These, she notioned, must be the appeal, so she studied the instructions cautiously and put the cap upon her head. "Epi, peppy, kaki," she stated, status on her left foot. "What did you say?" requested the Scarecrow, who did now not realise what she changed into doing. "Hello, hollo, hello," Dorothy went on, status this time on her right foot. "Hello," responded the Tin Woodman lightly. "Zizzy, zoozy, zik," said Dorothy, who became now status on both toes. This ended the pronouncing of the allure, and that they heard a fantastic chattering and flapping of wings as the band of winged monkeys flew up to them. The King bowed low earlier than Dorothy and requested, "What is your command?" "We wish to go to the Emerald City," said the kid, "and we've got lost our manner." "We will deliver you," replied the king, and no sooner had he spoken than of the monkeys caught Dorothy of their palms and flew away along with her. Others took the Scarecrow and the Woodman and the Lion, and one little monkey seized Toto and flew after them, even though the dog attempted hard to chunk him. The Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman were rather nervous at the beginning, for they remembered how badly the winged monkeys had dealt with them before. However, they saw that no damage became meant, so that they rode through the air pretty cheerfully, and had an excellent time searching at the quiet gardens and woods far beneath them. Dorothy found herself using without problems between of the biggest monkeys, one of them the king himself. They had made a chair in their hands and were carefully now not to hurt her. "Why do you need to obey the allure of the golden cap?" she asked.
"This is a protracted story," replied the king with a winged snicker. "But as we've got a long adventure earlier than us, I will skip the time by telling you about it, in case you want."
"I will be glad to hear it," she responded.
"Once," started out the leader, "we have been a free humans dwelling fortunately within the first-rate forest, flying from tree to tree, ingesting nuts and fruits, and doing just as we thrilled without calling each person master. Perhaps a number of us were rather too full of mischief at times, flying down to drag the tails of the animals that had no wings, chasing birds and throwing nuts at the individuals who walked in the woodland. But we have been careless and glad and full of a laugh, and enjoyed each minute of the day. This turned into a few years in the past, long before Oz came out of the clouds to rule over this land. There lived right here then, away on the north, a lovely princess who became additionally a powerful sorceress. All her magic became used to help the human beings, and she became never acknowledged to hurt all people who became appropriate. Her call turned into Gaelette, and she lived in a handsome place constructed from the top-notch blocks of Ruri. Everyone cherished her. However, her greatest sorrow was that she could discover no one to love and go back, due to the fact all of the guys had been a good deal too silly and unsightly to mate with one so beautiful and wise. At ultimate but she found a boy who turned into handsome and manly and sensible beyond his years. Gaelette made up her mind that when he became a man she might make him her husband. So she took him to her ruby palace and used all her magic powers to make him as sturdy and correct and lovely as any lady could wish. When he grew to manhood, Quelela, as he turned into called, changed into said to be the first-rate and wisest man in all the land. At the same time as his manly beauty was so great that Gaelette cherished him dearly and hastened to make the whole thing geared up for the marriage. My grandfather changed into at that time the king of the winged monkeys, which lived within the wooded area near Gaelette's palace, and the vintage fellow cherished a joke higher than a good dinner. One day, simply earlier than the marriage, my grandfather changed into flying out together with his band when he noticed Quelela strolling beside the river. He changed into dressed in a rich costume of pink silk and crimson velvet, and my grandfather idea he might see what he may want to do. At his phrase, the band flew down and seized Quelela, carried him of their arms till they had been over the middle of the river, and then dropped him into the water. "Swim out, my quality fellow," cried my grandfather, "and see if the water has noticed your garments." Quelala became plenty too wise no longer to swim, and he turned into no longer within the least spoiled by way of all his good fortune. He laughed whilst he came to the pinnacle of the water and swam into the shore. But when Gaelette came strolling out to him, she observed his skills in velvet all ruined by means of the river. The princess became indignant, and she knew, of course, who did it. She had all the winged monkeys delivered before her, and said before everything that their wings should be tied, and that they must be handled as they had dealt with Quelela, and dropped within the river. But my grandfather pleaded hard, for he knew the monkeys might drown in the river with their wings tied, and Quelala stated a type phrase for them in additionally, so that Gaelette sooner or later spared them, on the situation that the winged monkeys have to ever after do 3 times the bidding of the proprietor of the golden cap. This cap had been made for a wedding present to Quelela, and it's far said to have fee the princess half her country. Of direction, my grandfather and all the different monkeys without delay agreed to the circumstance, and this is how it takes place, that we're 3 instances the slaves of the owner of the golden cap, whosoever he may be.
"And what have become of them?" asked Dorothy, who had been substantially interested by the tale.
Cruella being the primary proprietor of the golden cap, replied the monkey. He became the first to lay his wishes upon us. As his bride couldn't undergo the sight folks, he referred to us all to him in the wooded area after he had married her, and ordered us usually to keep wherein she should in no way again set eyes on a winged monkey, which we had been glad to do, for we had been all terrified of her. This become all we ever had to do till the golden cap fell into the fingers of the wicked witch of the west, who made us enslave the Winkies, and in a while pressure Oz himself out of the land of the west. Now the golden cap is yours, and 3 times you have the right to put your desires upon us.